you're a dental practice owner and you're trying to grow, you're trying to get more patients, SEO is probably one of the worst investments you can make in terms of getting results in that area. And I'm going to explain why that is, why it's still being promoted and other people still seem to do it, and the better alternatives that will get you better results for your money. I'll also mention some of those in the end of the video. All right, so SEO started relatively early at the age of search engines. So Google came out around 1998. Before that, there were other search engines, but anyway, the game was if you can manipulate your website in order to rank higher for these search engines, then you would benefit. So if someone searched dentist in Los Angeles and you were a dentist in Los Angeles, you could get a lot of that traffic of the people now relying on the internet to find information, and they would go onto your website and therefore you would benefit. It makes a lot of sense, right? And for a while, this was a very valid strategy. It brought a lot of results and you could it was relatively unknown, so it was pretty cheap to do. But now as things move forward, we see that the players, the businesses who had a lot to gain, started abusing these systems. And so there was a lot of back and forth between the businesses and Google, the businesses trying to take advantage of Google and Google trying to push back on that and trying to give the users a better experience. Because what happened was businesses would, like let's say there's a business in Newport Beach, all the way down in Irvine, California, around there, and they invested heavily into SEO. And so they start ranking high for search terms like dentist in Los Angeles, which they're probably 2 hours away from. So when users on Google would look for a dentist in Los Angeles and meet with results from dentists in different locations, it ends up giving users a bad experience. And so users trying to find a better experience, Yelp comes along. They now offer search by zip code, right? And so if you're looking for a local business, where are you going to search now? Yelp or Google? So a lot of users went to Yelp, and that's why Yelp is still around today, was from that period of time where there was all this abuse happening on Google's platform. And to combat this, like Google tried a lot of back and forth, a lot of different algorithm updates, but the businesses were always figuring out ways to get around that. And so right around the end of 2016 or so, Google essentially pushed SEO results way down, and above it, they would place Google Places or Google Maps. So if you do a search and you indicate to Google that you're looking for a local business, so like a restaurant near me, a dentist in Los Angeles, or whatever that might be, if it indicates location, you're going to see Google Maps above it, and below it are going to be SEO results. And what we're finding is around 80 to 90% of interactions that end up becoming leads and therefore end up becoming patients are happening at the Google Maps level, right? So at the bottom, you're really fighting for around 10 to 20% of the results. And people are putting in a lot of investment into SEO, which is really only for 10 to 20% of the results, if that. All right, so that's one of the reasons why SEO is such a poor investment, because back in the day, if you weren't in the top 3 results of SEO, you would essentially get nothing. All right, and now if you're the top 1, if you're winning SEO, you're still really getting nothing. We have a lot of clients who are leading their city for the best keywords, right? For braces in Riverside, for oral surgery in Los Angeles, or whatever that might be, dentist in Hacienda. We have all the, we're number 1 or number 2 or number 3 for those, but it's leading to very little results, simply because local searches are now being routed to Google Maps. In Google Maps, you have distance, you have reviews, you have photos of the office, right? It's a much better experience than a single line of text in the SEO field. And so Google has been combating SEO abuse with this change. And so therefore, my thesis really for this video is that traditional SEO as we knew it is pretty much dead, and putting investment into it is you're essentially investing into something where people are busy fighting for scraps. So why does it still exist, and why do people still promote it? Well, I think SEO businesses are basically going out of business. They're realizing that people are really pushing back on the results that are coming in from SEO and asking why things aren't working. And as these clients leave, the SEO businesses have to promote more and get more people to come in. And I think the irony of this is if you search for an SEO company, these SEO companies are paying ads because they're, lo and behold, more effective than SEO. All right. And another reason is that when we look at dentists who came before you who were successful, they might have emerged in that era where SEO was effective. And so therefore, if you ask them, hey, what was your strategy for growth? And they might talk about SEO because it was a valid strategy back in the day before things changed. All right, so what should we do instead? The thing I talked about before, Google Places or Google Maps, the thing that happens above the SEO area, that is now what we call local SEO. And the main thing that you're going to be, the main things that are going to affect your ranking when it comes to that is going to be your reviews and also the distance. All right. So distance is something you can't really control. The distance from where that person is when they search is really outside of your hands. So really all you can focus on are reviews. But also keep that in mind. Distance is so important that you no longer can we do the work of manipulating something in order to show up in cities where people aren't searching for anymore. That is a thing of history. All right, so when it comes to reviews now, there's two main factors that you need to take into consideration, or three. First is volume. The second is the actual reviews, the score, your overall score. And last is going to be the recency of the reviews. All right, so when it comes to volume, of course, more the better. When it comes to your score, of course, higher the better. And when it comes to freshness or recency, of course, the newer the better. And there is no real calculation for how Google measures and weighs each of these factors. But just know that those three factors are the ones that are to be considered when it comes to ranking. But distance is going to be such a heavily weighed factor that you can't ignore that as well. All right. So instead of SEO, put some effort into local SEO, put some effort into getting reviews, put some effort into making sure or incentivizing your team to get reviews. And there's been a lot of instances where Google removes reviews from businesses like en masse because reviews had been incentivized. And I think this is happening more and more. And also the FTC has been cracking down. And with each fraudulent review, it can bring it up to around $50,000 per fraudulent review as a fine. So, or not fraudulent review, incentivized reviews too. So be very careful with incentivizing reviews. So what I recommend instead is to take that budget that you would have had to incentivizing people for reviews and put that to your team, because it's totally fair game to incentivize your team. Make it so that there is a clear rule so that they know how they can, track points or whatever. And at the end of the month or whatever, that budget that you would have had for incentivizing patients would now go into your team who are all being incentivized to request reviews. Okay, so besides SEO, besides traditional SEO, which are the search engine results, the better method is to focus on local SEO, which is Google Maps, and mainly the work is generating reviews. But the ultimate tactic, the thing to do that works best, is going to always be advertising now. And it's because in the past, you could pay a third-party agency like mine to rank you high on Google where you could get an advantage. But now these platforms have designed their own platforms so that you have to pay them in order to get an advantage. So what shows up before Google Map Packs or Google local SEO and Google Places? Before that is going to be advertisements. All right, and then you have Google Places, and then sometimes even advertisements below it. And even in Google Places and Google Maps, you have advertisements and sponsored results at the top there. Advertisements is the way things are trending. That is where you're going to get the most advantages. The platforms are intentionally designing their own platforms so that the advertisers, the people who pay them money, are the ones who are going to reap the benefits. Even if there is a very strong competitor who exists, who has tons of great reviews and whatever, if you're willing to pay, Google will put you above them. All right. And especially for startups and new practices, advertising is going to be the way to grow, because we've worked with clients in the past who had a totally new office, and now they're competing in local SEO with other offices who have 300 or 400 reviews, and they're maybe managed to get 12 reviews, right? It doesn't shine a light to a candle or whatever that phrase is to the rest of the competition. So the only way these newer offices can get an advantage on these existing platforms is to pay their way to the top where they can get some visibility. All right, and there are ways around this. If you do the work of growing with word of mouth, of course that is more difficult and it is more sustainable, but that isn't really clear yet. I'm still working on a course for that. So if you want to do the faster work of growing right now, that is going to come down to advertising and local SEO. About 2 years ago, I had our team completely stop doing the traditional SEO work, which are things like blog posts, building backlinks. So if you ever go on a website and see hundreds of blog posts happening twice a month or once a month, you know that they were working on traditional SEO. If you go on a website and you see like 30 different pages for all the different services that they could provide, including things like fluoride treatment, then you know they were doing SEO work. And as a side note, on a website, the strategy previously was to put as many pages on there, hoping that you would get some sort of SEO result. But because SEO results are non-existent now, really we have to start removing a lot of these things because it's been impeding the clarity that your website had and the clear journey that patients could go through to find what they're looking for. But right now what's happening is they're just being bombarded by all this clutter that it becomes very difficult to really get anything from your website, right? So that was my long rant on why SEO is no longer effective. Hopefully you can understand why. Hopefully you can understand that these platforms have intentionally removed it because of the abuse and the negative user experience that the abuse of SEO was causing. And they've essentially replaced it with advertising. If you want to get an advantage on their platform, you're going to have to pay them now. It's just how they designed it. It makes business sense for them. All right. And yeah, that's it for this video. Hope you found it useful. If you are looking into SEO, I really recommend that you reconsider. Instead, look into how you can get more reviews and look into advertising as well. And of course, I will be releasing my course soon that goes into how you can design your office to attract ideal patients. And then it's going to have all the different things when it comes to all this tactical stuff like local SEO, how to get reviews, how to get referrals, and all this good stuff. All right, so that's it. Hope you like this video. See you guys in the next one.